What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark, back from MovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and I'm taking a second look at Heretic. Mainly because I got this movie as a screener uh, back in awards season, which means I got it without audio description, and I now have seen it with audio description. So I wanted to have a review of it that actually addresses the audio description, the accessibility, and did it move my grade at all? Did it change the grade? Was it fun the second time around? Is it good the second time around? Is this a rewatchable film? All those questions will be answered today in a second look at Heretic. But before I do that, click like and subscribe, because while everybody else is running away from DEI, I'd like for you to run towards it. As a blind film critic, that little I, inclusivity, I know, inclusion, to include, means to include people like me. And I don't mean that like necessarily in your subscription, but I would love to show the world that to include is not a bad thing. When we usually hear exclude and think that's a bad thing, for some reason we're hearing include and thinking that's a bad thing. So I'd like to change that, if we could, by talking about audio description and accessibility that I need as a blind person. So Hugh Grant, who has been nominated surprisingly all over the place for this movie. Just not the Oscars. He did miss out on the Oscar nomination, but he got like a Golden Globe nomination and a BAFTA nomination. That's pretty good for a horror movie. He's really good here. And he plays Mr. Reed, who they are intrepid young Mormon girls visit. Whoopsie. Uh, much to their dismay, they visit his house, and he gets them in through a series of manipulative twists and challenging their belief and their faith, and pushing them through this. I love the references too, because I got a lot more of those in the audio description track. Like there was a poster of Dante's Inferno, and I was like, oh, this kind of feels like that. It kind of feels like these girls are going on this journey where they're going through like the levels, but they're going through the levels of Reed, right? And Reed references so many religions throughout this thing that it would make sense that he references something as simple as Greek mythology, you know? So it's a good structured, it's better than good, it's a great structured film, because it plays out exactly in the perfect way, with each scene building on the next. I'm gonna try not to spoil really like the whole thing. I'm just kind of talking about it sort of generally. Um, Audio description came into play with, like I said, a lot of the visuals, a lot of the clicking of systems, a lot of the, I didn't know where they were. So it described rooms. It described things like lights going off and going on. It put things a lot more into context. There was a shot of their bikes missing, which I know she verbalizes it later, but at the same time, I didn't know that. I didn't know that scene was there. So there are a lot of things here. Some of the more horror elements, which there really aren't that many. This movie is very light on horror / gore, if we're being honest. It has some, but not a lot. And the audio description doesn't need to lean in on that much, because it has fleeting moments of it. And so the few times where there's anything that would qualify as horror gore that you were like, maybe I don't want my kids to see this, they're well described, but there just aren't that many of them. And compared to like a bunch of other horror movies I saw this year, this is really on the low end of the totem pole. If it wasn't for like one particular shot, I would say this movie's close to getting PG-13. I think I think this film was maybe a few edits that we wouldn't even have noticed away from being PG-13. I don't think it's that hard to make to turn this film. So it is just sort of an excellent exploration of this theological conversation, but it's also terrifying at the same time. And it's great because Grant is playing into all of the things that work really well for him, but he's also flipping those on its head, and using those against the audience as well. Not only does it challenge us with our perception of religion, but also our perception of what Hugh Grant is capable of and what kind of characters he can play. I think both of the girls are fine. I still don't remember their names, and I still have a really hard time differentiating between the two of them. That's kind of the biggest problem, is that they weren't wildly different enough for me. I know some other critics have tried to single out one over the other. I still, after watching this film twice, I feel like Hugh Grant is just dominating so much in this movie that it makes it really hard for me to write these names down and be like, I need to remember this name for the future because this person's going to go far. That doesn't feel, and I still haven't done that. I haven't mentioned the names. I'm like, I don't feel compelled. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't put Heretic like on my top films of the year list. Is while he's a great villain, I don't feel that future final girl from either of them. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that one who pops, the one who pops, you know, the one who we've picked out from some other movies before, who ends up sort of going the distance, sort of like a Mia Goth, a Jenna Ortega, Melissa Barrera, as being a whole bunch of like recent examples. Samara Weaving has done that sort of recently. She's been in a bunch of horror movies. So I don't feel like I had that here. Interchangeably, they could be, you know, either one of them. I don't know. But they're both good. They're just, I need to see more from them in the future to determine that I have another. Those are big names. You know, Jenna Ortega, she's got a bright future ahead of her. Melissa Barrera is still starring in things. And Samara Weaving, you know, killed it last year in Israel. So, I mean, those girls are still continuing on in the field. I don't know that I'm here yet with them. This movie's so focused on Hugh Grant's performance and giving him these long monologues where he just, somebody wrote this. It's a great script. It's a great screenplay. So the audio description ties it all together because it brings together all these little things that you didn't know before I didn't know before because, again, no audio description, of the little things, little visual cues that they have throughout the thing. Whether it be something as simple as them looking in on the home to begin with. When they first step foot in the home, there are several things that put their mind at ease, you know, that make it seem like that there's a woman there. And like a knitting kit, there's the Bless This Mess, and things that just sort of seem to put you at ease, like you're safe, you're here. And then as you move about throughout the film, they use various set pieces. There's even that door that was described. It was described in a way that made me think like it's not like, and in the least spoilery way I would say possible, when she goes back upstairs and then goes through another door, there's another door, but it's not described as being like a normal door. It's being described like a shorter door or a slanted door, something like that. And how little moments like she almost loses her footing going downstairs. Little things I didn't pick up on before. So, and they all added to the tension. They all added to the moment. But the person who has the most of this film is Hugh Grant. This film is still all about Hugh Grant. It's still about him controlling the narrative and pushing forward to that ending. Does the film kind of lose its way a little bit at the end? I actually thought so originally, but now I don't. Now I think he sort of makes a case for that. I would say the biggest thing that I had here is the writers almost gave Hugh Grant too much, and then the girls not enough. The girls are so trapped in Mormonism that they are almost too meek. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't feel like they're ready to fight, especially the way that they kind of separate the two of them. And you end up with sort of the meekest, uh, the meekest will rise. Anyway, I know that that's like for a purpose, but at the same time, I don't know. That's the one thing, is that I felt like it's a Hugh Grant movie, but I wanted that dynamic. I wanted that back and forth. You know, I wanted more of that, the lobbying back and forth. I wanted my favorite scene is when one of them actually does come back and says, "Well, you know, you brought this up, but you didn't bring this up. You conveniently left this out. You conveniently left this out. You didn't do this." Because it kind of seems to piss him off, you know? And he's used to, I think, constantly being in mind games with people that he's far smarter than. And that is exactly what would have changed it. And we almost went there, but for reasons I can't spoil, we didn't. So I'm left. I'm left with Heretic. I originally gave this film a B plus, and I stand by that grade. I think Heretic is a B plus film. That was sort of my median grade for Heretic, floating grade for Heretic, whatever you want to call it. So, audio description, great, and I'm really glad that I saw it now. So, but I'm not changing the grade. It's the same grade. It's the median. This one was actually a good guess. I end up guessing with these floating grades, and this is a grade that didn't change. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And remember, inclusivity is not a bad word. And I'll see you guys on the other side.